ground.
What's up, guys? It's Alex.
It's Quinn.
It's Iconic Comic. We're back, and we are ready to spoiler review Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle. If you want to see our immediate reaction, go to the Stardust app. Boom. Right there. And follow us at Iconic Comic. So,
let's spoil the fuck out of this thing.
I feel like we got to start off with
Merlin. You're right.
Dude, that was the most emotional death.
Now, if you haven't seen this movie and you're just watching spoilers review because you don't give a fuck, what kind of sick fuck are you? But also, look, this death might have hit me harder. Okay, this is going to be a spoiler review for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 then.
Okay.
Might have hit me harder than Yondu. But
Definitely.
But for certain reasons.
Go on.
So, look, Mark Strong plays this character in such a way where he's the Q, like in James Bond.
Yeah.
The guy who gives them all the gadgets, but he's also everybody's friend. He's got that emotional tie to all the agents. Q in the James Bond movies doesn't have that same emotional tie. So he's got that emotional tie with everyone. And in this movie, I think he got way more of a spotlight in the first 3 quarters to shine and really give us his, not only acting chops, Mark Strong, give us his acting chops, but to really delve into, he's not just a robot super spy.
Yeah. He
likes other things, especially music, and John Denver, and Take Me Home, Country Roads. Damn it.
Dude, that song...
Like, I love that song before.
I've heard that song before, but then when he was singing it, it really hit me home.
They set it up really well because he sung it at different points in the movie. So this is going to be a lot of. If you never watched one of our spoiler reviews, we jump a lot just to like what we're feeling emotionally. So the first time it came up, I believe, was when they found the bottle of bourbon and they got sloshed.
Yeah.
So
that was awesome.
The Kingsmen get blown away, like all of them, including Dumbledore. You didn't know it was him until I told you, and then you went.
And then you can hear it.
You could hear it. So Dumbledore was kind of like the Michael Caine guy.
Yeah.
In this movie, didn't last long, like literally 10 minutes into the movie. So all the Kingsmen get blown away except for
the Statesmen.
No, the Kingsmen get blown away.
Oh, the Kingsmen. Well, you said the Kingsmen. Or I'm sorry, you said the Statesmen, and then the Kingsmen.
Sorry, the Kingsmen get blown away. Except for Eggsy, Harry, who's alive with the Statesman, and Merlin.
Merlin, for now.
I think that was it, right?
3.
That was it.
Yeah.
So, really 2 to their knowledge until they found Merlin. But there's a, what do they call, like an Armageddon or Apocalypse protocol, like if shit goes sideways. They went to this place, it was a pub, right?
It was a pub, and then they went... No, it was a... No, yeah.
Was it a pub?
It was a type of place that served alcohol. And then they went...
It was like a tasting place.
So they went to the tasting room, like a certain room. They went downstairs, and it was... You could tell it was
like
Kentucky.
A conference room.
You could tell that it was bourbon
wood top
whiskey.
Table.
You could tell that it was a bourbon whiskey place.
And unlocked the safe, and it was just this...
I'm kidding.
It was this bottle of Statesman Kentucky bourbon. And they look at it like, what the hell is this? Like, this is supposed to be where we go for answers.
Merlin, I think, was the one that said, in this safe holds the key. Like, something like that. And it was just bourbon.
Yeah. Well, are they wrong?
No, they're not wrong.
We're from Kentucky. We're a little biased.
So then Dude, side note, I'm glad that a movie finally hits home with us.
Both good and bad.
As Kentuckians, because the first one was the church scene.
There was still one scene in this movie, though, where they kind of like... we'll get to this.
Yeah. But really hit home as like, yes, Kentucky.
Yeah. The only other... I don't know many other movies that really mention Kentucky. Like, I mean, there was James Bond movies where they went to Fort Knox.
Yeah.
But really, there hadn't been a ton of this is Kentucky movie. Most of this movie kind of took place in Kentucky. Think about that.
God, it's awesome.
State pride. Anyway, they open the safe. There's the bottle of bourbon, and then they're like, you know what? whatever this is, we might as well drink to our fallen comrades.
So they fill it up, they shoot it.
By the way, not the way to drink bourbon. Like, let's put this out there.
Most bourbon.
Okay, good bourbon. We're gonna assume Statesman bourbon is good bourbon. They drank it so wrong. Like, they're not savoring it. So
I love the way that Jeff Bridges drinks bourbon.
Yeah.
Like, he puts it on his finger, on his lip,
he's
on his
smelling
neck,
it. It's using his cologne.
It's wonderful.
So they take the shot, and they go, you know what? We might as well drink to so and so. Take another shot.
Throw it back.
And then they start pouring another one. And I lean over to him, and I go, they're gonna get effed up. Like, they're on a bad road right now.
And then what was hilarious?
But we didn't really think that, like, they're probably, like, I was just saying that because we know what bourbon does to you, especially if you treat it like that. But we weren't expecting it to actually happen, and then it cuts.
And then you see the bottle with that much in it, and Merlin like this, crying.
We've all been there before.
Crying. That was hilarious.
Which was a great callback because he, at one point in the movie, was like, this is not the time to cry. Crying comes later.
Yeah.
He is bawling.
He's bawling his eyes out.
But then they find, on the inside of the bottle, it says distilled or bottled in Louisville, Kentucky. It was Louisville, right?
Was it Louisville?
I think it was. I'm going to say it was Louisville. I'm almost 100%. It was Louisville, Kentucky, and the K in Kentucky was the Kingsman symbol, and that's what tipped them off. Like, we got to go there. But also, calling back, that's when he started singing. Like, you know what? You know, I love country music, and I'm Kentucky bourbon. I love country music. John Denver, and he starts singing a little bit of Country Roads, and then they play on it in the middle again, and then it picks up
at the end.
It goes full golden circle. I'm sorry. They go full golden circle with Merlin's death, and we're going to circle back to that real fast. Man, that might have been harder than Yondu's in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, because that was... Yondu's was like...
You know why? Because we really saw Mark Strong's character, Merlin, as human, because in this movie in particular, he longed for the old friendship with Harry.
Damn.
And then when Harry was back, you saw it in the trailers. And when you see Merlin, when he sees Harry for the first time again, he's shocked.
You see it in the trailers.
But then when they first talk, it's like...
It's heartbreaking.
It's like my old friend. And then obviously he doesn't know what's happening. Like, Harry's got something wrong with his brain.
It's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, so we saw that he was human, which is kind of different because of the role.
He wasn't in the first
because
movie.
the role that he was playing this overseeing, like, remember your training type person.
I give you the weapons. This is my role. And the bourbon scene when they get sloshed is really the first time we see him. I mean,
he broke.
You could see there was obviously some emotion towards the end of the first movie, but nice. But that scene was the first time we went, this guy's not a robot.
Yeah.
And that all went full circle when we hit the end. Eggsy steps on the mine, which I'm going to call kind of bullshit here, because they brought the specific...
They brought this minesweeper.
And then, literally within 2 minutes of talking about it's a minesweeper, they step on a fucking mine.
Yeah.
And then
Skeptical hippo
they
eyes.
freeze it up, or Merlin freezes it up and says, we got about a second to get off it and get out of here. And even me at that time went, there's no way they're going to get out of the range.
No, it resets it, so when it unfreezes...
It's going to click it.
No, it's going to go back to normal.
And it's going to release. So it already knows it's been stepped on, so all it needs to know is that it's going to do this. But it's frozen, so it's going to give you a little bit of time to step off it before it does this. So...
Maybe.
Well, that's the only reason Merlin would step on it. Like, if they could get out of there, they would have. He's not going to just risk himself for no fucking reason.
Maybe.
Eggsy steps off, and then we hear it again. My first thought, honestly, was that he stepped on another one, because the shot was Eggsy.
Yeah.
So I went, did he really just step on another mine?
Like, he missed another mine with this minesweeper.
And I thought they were going to go for almost like a joke thing. Like, they kept stepping on mines. But then the camera pans back, and it's Merlin, a foot on the mine.
Confidently on the mine.
Dude, and he's like, this is how it's going to have to be. And they argue about it. They're like, no, like...
Harry didn't that much.
Harry didn't. Eggsy did. And that's... We'll touch on Harry because it's kind of his character. It was very consistent with Harry's character. But Eggsy was real emotional about it. And then I'm pretty sure he hit him with another, like, remember your training. This is a part of it. Like, we got to go through.
When it was Merlin here in the middle, Harry over here, Eggsy over here, then he starts to sing.
I think he like cut down like a branch or something so that he was shown to the guard.
He started to sing, then he started cutting stuff down, then he starts to sing, and it was emotional because you just saw Harry and Eggsy looking at him.
And they both give him this look of, it's over. Thank you for your service. Give him a little nod. And he's singing Country Roads, Take Me Home to the Place I Belong.
So then the guards are coming in, and then once they get really close, he lets his foot off, and boom, that's when Harry and Eggsy wreck shop.
Dude, and I'm glad they brought back the guy from the first movie, one of the candidates that didn't make it, because Eggsy made it. Like, that's a cool way to go.
I want to touch on Harry first before we go into that.
Well, I'm just saying it connects to that scene, because it goes full circle again, where, you know, he didn't make it, Eggsy did, and he's kind of out for revenge a little bit, and then it gets to that scene where Eggsy's right on top of him, and he goes like, you know, this is for JB, his dog, and this is for I can't remember the girl Kingsman's name from the first movie. I feel like she got a short end of the stick. Maybe a negative that we should have touched on in the non-spoiler.
She was kind of big in the other one.
Dude, she made it.
Yeah.
Before Eggsy did, because he didn't shoot his dog. Well, shoot his dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he's like, it's for her, and this is for Merlin. And he cracks, and like, we were probably in a theater of maybe 20 people, which really kind of pissed me off, because it's like, these days, other than like Star Wars and Marvel, the theaters aren't packed for these movies.
Yeah.
And I feel like they deserve, like, this franchise deserves to be seen.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have been in there with a big audience.
Yeah.
And we were the only ones, when he cracked his neck, we went like, that's what I'm talking about.
But I do want to talk about Harry, though, because I feel like the trailers did this movie a disservice. Because they showed Harry in the trailers, and I talked about this in the non-spoiler, but I'll talk about it here, because it's important. Like, they showed him, and what an emotional punch this movie would have been if we didn't know about Harry.
We didn't know
at all.
Jack.
We see Harry come back, and then fucking Merlin dies.
Now, I will say, the trailer did our emotional hit a disservice, and the movie a disservice, but the movie gave Harry, like, they didn't disservice him in the movie.
No, they didn't.
He was handled very well.
They explained it very well, because with the way they handled it was, we saw him with an eye patch, right? And I originally thought,
we both thought it was like
a bulletproof glass, but
the Kingsman would totally have something like that.
Yeah, so some bulletproof glass, but
no, it was way more convoluted than that.
Some glass got in his eye. No, it was a straight headshot. Apparently, there's this thing you can put over somebody's head.
Fill him with this gel,
and then it like starts to
Well, then they have to do a surgery too. Like, that's just to kind of protect him in the moment, and then they got to go back to the base and perform the surgery, and then they all get this amnesia shit. And they explained it very well.
Yeah. So, but think, if we didn't see him in the trailer at all, how emotional the Merlin death would have been.
I just thought about something though, and we always go back to it. Marvel is kind of, and I hope they don't do this for Infinity War, but other than Quicksilver, they've kind of been on the track of, hey, this guy's dead. No, he's not. He's back.
Yeah.
But they don't do that in the trailers. They just kind of go, oh, hey, he's back. So I feel like if I would have just seen it in the movie, a part of me would have been like, well, that kind of undermines the first movie, like the emotional hit of that one. But since they went ahead and went, you know what, we're just going to tell you guys, he's back. They're not double crossing us.
Okay.
They're kind of like,
all right,
no, he's back, but we will
why.
explain to you why. Because the Marvel movies don't always do a great job of, they're superheroes, so they can last longer. They don't always go, okay, he's back. Okay, well, why? Well, because he's back.
That was one of my things.
Like Loki.
That was one of the things, like the scene with the info dump, where, okay, he's back. Okay, we know he's back. Why is he back? Why the hell is he even back? Why is he alive? Okay, now we know why.
See, I thought it was pretty, like, boom, boom. Like, I'm pretty sure they showed him, and then within 5 minutes, Halle Berry was the one who explained it. I didn't think that was the info dump. I thought the info dumps really came from, like, Jeff Bridges.
Definitely Jeff Bridges.
And
info dump.
Like, the scenes where it was Julianne Moore's character just being a villain. Just kind of, like, exfoliating her.
They almost hit it when she was on, like, the big screen explaining what was happening and explaining her evil plot.
Yeah.
That's basically an info dump.
But that's so typical cheesy spy movie. Like, this is the twirling mustache guy that I bought it because that's what they set up.
I almost didn't buy it. But then at the same time, Elton John fucking sold it.
Dude.
Elton John was hilarious.
The first time he showed up, I was into it. Then the second time, the second time he showed up, the first thought in my mind was, oh, they're going to overdo this. They're going to overdo this cameo. But I thought about it a little longer, and I went like, no. If Elton John was in this situation, this is exactly what it would be like. And I like how they kind of used it to connect the first movie. Like, well, with Samuel L. Jackson bringing all the celebrities and kind of keeping them captive, this was a perfect cover for me to steal Elton John and use him as a private little dancing monkey.
Right.
And, dude, when he starts singing, it was the song Saturday, like the Saturday night song, but he said Wednesday night because it's like, what night is it? It's Wednesday night. Hell yeah, it is. And like he beats shit out of that guy. But he starts singing that song, and they use that for the last fight scene. And it's like, dude, I'm all in with this character now.
Yeah, but then it almost lost me when Elton John did the running jump sidekick and freeze.
But it was so funny that I went, you know what?
It was so funny
I'm
where
not
it's like,
gonna
you
give
know
it any
what?
flack.
I'm going to let that one slide because it was so funny.
Like in the chamber. Like it was a perfect running jump sidekick.
Great technique.
In the back leg just tucked in. Like, did he do his own stunts, do you think?
Doubt it.
Doubt it.
Highly doubt it.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of other specifics. Like
dude,
big
they talked about real issues with this movie.
Like politics?
Politics with this movie. Like with drug use.
Now, let's not get into our own politics in this, but definitely drug use.
It was crazy because you had these sides, so how it played out was they were in the drug trade, and they laced this drug, like all the drugs with...
Like every illegal drug with this disease.
Yeah. Basically, you would get like, your veins would turn blue, you would become manic, and then you would be paralyzed, and then die.
Your eyes would explode.
They would just bleed out your face, and you would die. So you would do these drugs, but then... lost my train of thought because then I thought of eyes exploding.
So what they did was they used the president as
That's
a
right.
real...
The president as a real... I'm kidding.
As a real good mirror image of the villain. Like, you couldn't really tell who was on the good side. They really,
Yeah.
neither one was on the good side. They were
Exactly.
both bad in their own way, but they set up these two options where it was like, okay, well, if we don't do anything, this is a real good way for people to just stop doing illegal drugs, because they'll just stop, because they don't want to die. They'll know. They'll be like, well, if I do this, I'm going to die. But on the other side of it, it's like they showed a lot of regular people doing these drugs who aren't bad people.
Not just regular people, but
People in the government,
all
people
types of
in the
people.
statesmen, Channing Tatum, do a little blow, smoke a little weed,
yeah.
and they have to die because of that. So it gave you two options where it's like, look,
Like
drugs are definitely, like heroin, there's nobody who's on the stance of pro-heroin. So on that point, it was like, well, maybe this is a good way to weed that out. Poor choice of words.
pun. It's just pun.
No, I didn't mean to pun, but
yeah.
wean it out. Wean it out. I think that's the word, right?
Yeah, because there's like sides to this, like currently in this world,
Yes.
our world, where it's like, okay,
Should we legalize marijuana?
Well, we let not even that. We let these drug users. I'm not saying my own political thoughts. It was just what's in this movie. It was, do we let these people die, and let these drug users die so that no one else does drugs, or do
like
we
almost a natural selection kind of deal.
natural selection
Again,
or,
not my
or
take
do we,
on it, just
or do we
the movie's
let
take.
or do we cure all these people, but they could do drugs again.
And it is a tough issue because, like, now I just said I'm not going to get political, but my stance on it, you know what? If you want to smoke weed, smoke weed. If you want to do this, do that. As long as it's not affecting other people around you and you're not being a burden to society, I feel like you can you should just be you. Because we're allowed to drink, we're allowed to smoke tobacco, and that shit's very harmful to people. So
Either way,
the movie did it in such a way where it was like you could agree with one. I honestly, at not many points, because on the most part I was teetering towards let's save all these people. But there were some points where I went, that's a good point. Like,
man,
like,
damn it.
if I'm not saying I want people to die, but if we could literally like stop heroin right now, maybe it could prevent all the deaths in the future.
But at the same time, you're killing millions and millions of people. So what you just said, this movie did a good job of actually raising a big question, like an inner question, like how would you feel about this? I'm not going to answer
Now
that.
they
But
didn't. Now this movie is directed by a guy who is a British director. It's a British movie. They, for the most part, did a good job representing like Kentucky and stuff. But overall, there were still points where it was like, man, the USA is a mess. Because the way they portray the president was like,
cold-hearted. Just,
wow. Like, I'm just going to let all these people die. I'm going to pretend like we're making the deal here with the villain, and then, it didn't go through. Oh, they killed everybody. Everybody died.
Like, they tried to House of Cards this in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And then the other part was when they did the mirroring of the bar scene from the first movie.
Dude, I loved that.
Oh, it was awesome. And I will admit, maybe a negative, it was kind of out of nowhere. Like, the abruptness of the Southerners.
Yeah.
Because no one in that movie...
That's how Kentucky is.
Oh, yeah, that's how we are. Up to that point in the movie, we had not met a Southerner because they had been in Kentucky for a bit. Because that was after Harry had been... He's back to normal now. So, we had a big chunk of movie where it was like, this isn't how Southerners are. And then this just one dude walks up, not my words, just like, hey, you faggot, like, calling him all these names. And it's like, oh, wow. Because I remember leaning to him at one point in the movie and go, well, at least they're portraying Kentucky better. And then literally 5 minutes later, he says faggot, and I go, never mind. Like, damn it.
What I thought was funny about that scene was when Harry got up, and
it was a complete recreation.
It was shot for shot, manners maketh man. Do you know what that means? Well, allow me to teach you a lesson. But then,
Takes the umbrella.
right here is where it gets hilarious because he grabs a glass and misses completely. Misses, and
It took me off guard.
I lean over, and I thought it was different because it was faster. The tempo was faster. Manners maketh man.
And they did that for a reason, because if they did it straight up beat for beat and then did that, it would have been... No, they set it up for the comedic.
Exactly. So I thought that they did a good job of that. And then the fucking lasso
Yeah, and you know what?
was awesome.
Would it have been cool to see Harry just kick some ass? Yes, but we needed a scene show what the the Statesman could do.
Oh, yeah.
And, we'll just use that as a segue. Touch on the Statesman. What a cool concept that there are these two...
Kingsman, Statesman.
The United Kingdom, the United States. It's...
Unity. Spies.
Spies. Kingsman. Go see this movie.
Plug.
So the Kingsmen...
Iconiccomic.com.
The Kingsmen have their front, which is the tailor shop. That's how they make their money to fund their Secret Service. The Statesmen use the bourbon distillery, and they sell alcohol, so they make a lot more money.
Yes.
Than they do. So they have a lot more resources. And I thought that just the vibe I got from the Statesmen... I was really, other than the first confrontation with Channing Tatum where they kind of butt heads, which made sense. Mm-hmm. It made sense. It's like, who are you people? You just broke in here. After that, I absolutely loved how they kind of just adopted each other as almost cousins. Sister divisions.
Like first cousins?
Oh my god. But like...
Or second cousins.
Sister divisions of the Secret Service.
Yeah.
And Jeff Bridges really sold that.
Hell
and
yeah.
He wasn't in the movie long, but goddamn it, if Jeff, it's this revival of these older actors that are kind of making a comeback that like had a 10, 15 year span of not really doing much, but then coming back. Like Michael Keaton, he's back. Like Pierce Brosnan, back. Jeff Bridges, he's back. They're just making their revival now. And really, anything that Jeff Bridges could have said in that movie, I would have bought. Like, I'm all in.
Yeah, I liked him a great deal. Like the Statesman.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
The Statesmen themselves, like they're just. It was a really cool concept.
It spoke home to us a little bit.
It did.
It kind of honey-dicked us into really buying into this movie. Like, when they were just all in, like, it kind of gave me chills there. So, when they bust open the big barrel of bourbon, and it was like I'm just guessing a year, so don't quote me on this, but I'm just saying 1978 Reserve. So, Channing Tatum goes... his character, I don't remember his name, and we'll touch on why that's a bad thing.
Tequila.
There you go. Good. So tequila's like, that's a 1978 batch of Statesman bourbon. This just got personal. I kind of got pumped up. Like,
it's like, there's Kentucky right there.
There's Kentucky. And then when the Kingsmen were trashing bourbon, like going, it's no scotch and, all this other stuff, I lean over him and go, I took that kind of personally. More personally than I probably should have. Like,
I got way too mad at that statement.
Really mad at that. But going off that, Channing Tatum's character, I'm just gonna say he was
I feel like
underused.
He was. I think you just said it best.
And the trailers
underused,
kind of misleading, almost to the point of misadvertising his character.
Yeah, I was expecting him to be kind of like what Whiskey was.
Yes.
Like their go-to guy. They would have built the bridge between the Statesman and the Kingsman.
And they did eventually, but there was literally probably about a 45-hour gap with his character not involved.
Yeah, because he was one of the people that did the drugs, and so they froze him.
Was it Blow? Like, I'm pretty sure
I don't know.
Or I don't think they were specific. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing.
They were.
How rude of me just to suggest that he's into
assuming.
coke. But then again, like I think that's I don't know if I'd go so far to say a failure of the movie, but definitely a misleading advertising.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the biggest Channing Tatum fan in the world. I like Channing Tatum, but based on the trailers, I was really looking forward to seeing his character do a lot in this movie, and I don't think we got enough of that. Now,
like to see his acting range.
Now I think, hopefully, we get the third one. He'll be in there a lot more. Now, apparently, he's a part of the Kingsman because he's over in London now.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's a really cool concept. I like that they went with that route. But whiskey.
Okay, I feel like they did whiskey.
This is another negative that we probably should have touched on in the non-spoiler. Well, it's hard to touch on in the non-spoiler.
He was a little too obvious.
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't obvious until they went like this. Like they put the pie in our face. So there's the mission where they're going to get the antidote to Julianne Moore's drug that makes everybody sick. And they're on the ski resort, and they're up in this house. Mm-hmm. All of the army's like coming towards them, all the reinforcements, and they're just stocked up in this house. And something happens where whiskey does something that destroys the antidote.
Like he straight up does like this.
Now
he knocks it out of Eggsy's hand.
I didn't even think about it. When it first happened, I just went, shit, that sucks. But then it kept showing Harry, and you could
just
tell
the way he was looking at him with his.
You could tell he was skeptical Harry,
skeptical hippo eye.
And Whiskey goes out and starts taking care of the bad guys, and he's just telling Eggsy like, no, there's some fuckery afoot. He is Bad News Bears. And he comes back in. He's like, thanks for the cover or whatever. And Harry just straight up, boom,
shoots him right in the head.
Takes him out. But what the movie did well at that point was I was still like, was he bad or wasn't he? Because Harry, they kind of set it up well where Harry was kind of loony.
Yeah.
So you didn't know who to trust. You're like, I want to trust Harry, but he's had some butterfly vision of late. So I don't know. But then they kind of just go, you know what, all that, misdirection, forget that. We're just going to kind of tell you he's a bad guy.
Yeah, that kind of didn't sit well with me. Like, I wish Whiskey would have been...
It was when he came back, and he got his memory back.
Like, with Halle Berry right there.
He's like, he was almost too like, oh, well, you need to get me a plane right there. I need to get there, like, right now. And then, like, the camera just stuck on him too long.
Yeah, but
it was, like, evil smirk towards the camera.
But then you saw his face like this. He went, and then he went back to what he was saying. It's like, okay.
Like, why'd he shoot you?
It was way too obvious.
Yeah. If they would have kept it up, though, because up to that point, I was still like, who's right?
Yeah.
Like, because Harry was kind of effed up in the head. So that might be my biggest negative, honestly, of the movie.
Right there.
That they did well with misdirecting us, and then they kind of just went, you know what, F it. We're just going to tell you.
It's like, hey, in case you didn't see it, we're going to hold your hand through this. We will spoon feed you this.
Yeah, they really spoon fed us that plot line. I'm trying to think of any other big plots that I want to delve into. They did a really good job. I love the beginning of this movie. I love the beginning.
It's good.
Where he's just kind of on the job. I always liked that.
The beginning, no foreplay, straight into action.
Right into the action scene.
I like it.
And we kind of talk about in the non-spoiler, they use kind of Guardians of the Galaxy style, a soundtrack with really only their fight scenes. Did I spit on you?
You did.
My apologies. Really only their fight scenes. And it was Prince for the first song. I don't remember what it was for the second song, but the third one was Elton John for the finale. Yeah. And it just kind of tied it together to this real fun movie. Mm-hmm. Like, right off the bat, I kind of sat back and went, this is what we're in for.
Oh, sorry. I was like
Agreed?
trying to muffle a yawn. Yeah.
Agreed.
Like the soundtrack was just. Ugh.
All right. So if you guys watched our non-spoiler review, you obviously know I'm giving this movie a 7.75. There's just a few things that I think it could have done better to. I think entertainment-wise, it's on par with the first.
Oh, yeah.
Entertainment-wise. I think there were just a few little, not plot points, but just devices, like the holding your hand through this part, like, hey, here it is. Stuff like that where it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but definitely nothing wrong with the action, nothing wrong with the acting, and nothing wrong with the score, soundtrack, and visually of this movie. Just a few little plot devices they used brings it down to a 7.75, which is still a great score for this movie.
I'm still going to give it an 8 for the same reasons. I think it just came down to the writing. I think they got a little ahead, just a little ahead of themselves. And then
maybe played it safe a little too much.
And then it's like, oh yeah, we got to backtrack a little bit, but then we're on track again.
Like, there were points in this movie where it felt this is something brand new and really cool, but there were also points where it was like, this is paint by numbers. Like, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Which is okay. It did not, like, completely rip me out of the movie. So, 7.75.
8.
And you started this, so why don't you close it?
All right, so let us know what you guys thought down in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys like,
comment,
share,
and subscribe
so that you don't miss anything from this channel. So make sure you stay tuned.
Stay iconic.
And cue music.
Holy Grail.